Hey everyone, it's your girl Sanj. Y'all, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to share for this video today, which is going to be about my wedding, specifically how I planned it in less than 3.5 months for less than $10,000. And so y'all, I'm gonna be breaking down the why, the how, some tips for what you can do to plan a wedding within a budget, and to just kind of bust the myth that to have a wedding or to get married you have to spend tens of thousands of dollars. I really want this video to offer my story and also an alternative perspective to things that you may hear out there in culture around, you know, for example, moving in together before marriage because you feel like you have to save up or you can't get married yet, or people postponing marriage with people that they do want to get married to for different reasons. I definitely don't believe marriage is something to be rushed into, but I believe that God's will, according to the word, is not to cohabitate, it's to trust him in all things, including in being able to fund and have a wedding if that's what you desire, but to be able to honor him through the whole process, and that the desire of your heart, if that is a beautiful wedding, that you can absolutely have that on a budget without compromise. And so with that, y'all, if you are new here, welcome to my channel. I am Sanj and I would love to see you back here. Go on and hit that young subscribe button, okay? And if you are not new here, welcome back. Thanks so much for watching. And so y'all, I'm gonna just get right into it, and I'll start off with a little bit of backstory. So I have been married for 2 years and a few months now. I got married in 2019 to the love of my life. I love this man. Oh, I love this man. Okay, and so I got married in October of 2019, and I got engaged on July 3rd, 2019. So from July 3rd to my wedding in October, it was 3.5 months. And yeah, it was crazy and beautiful, and I'll talk more about that. But also October 2019, right? So I got married a few months, really, I think that accounts to 5 or 6 months before COVID hit in March of 2019, 2020. COVID hit in the US, I should say, in a big way in March of 2020. And so March 2020 was actually when we were planning to get married. So we had got engaged in July. We were like, okay, we'll do March of next year. The wedding will be beautiful. We live in Arizona, so definitely wanted to avoid crazy summer weather. And so we were like, March. At that time, obviously, like, we didn't know what would go down with COVID, that the world would essentially shut down, that people would have to postpone and cancel their weddings, right? We didn't know, but God knew. And so he started working on my heart. I thought it was out of thirstiness, y'all. To be 100% honest, I thought it was out of thirstiness because we were waiting to have sex until marriage. Spoiler alert there, we did fall many a time, but we kept getting back up. I have a different video about that on my channel, so I'll have that up there. But anyway, especially in those final like 6 months prior to getting engaged through engagement, we were really focused on kind of our vows of celibacy till marriage, recommitted to them. And so we were like, yo, and granted we had already had sex, right, during the relationship. So there came a point during the engagement where I was like, yo, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to wait until March. And this is just me being completely honest. So I thought that was the reason for my desire to move the wedding back and make it sooner. And in part, it was my reason, but I also believe Holy Spirit was working on me of saying, no, we need this wedding to happen sooner. We need this wedding to happen sooner because God, right, knowing all things, knew that COVID would happen. And him in his grace and in his love started working on both of our hearts really to push the wedding up. And so we pushed it up. We did it in October. We said, okay, you know, we set the updated date in October, and really was just believing for God to provide for that to be able to happen. So that's the backstory there. And that gave us 3.5 months. And y'all, at this point, I was working at a previous job, different than I am in now. It was quite a demanding job. It was social media manager. So I was like on all the time, pretty much kind of had to be, because social media is a 24/7 thing. Adam was working his job. And so at that point, really, we were like, okay, so we need to save some money. But then there was a question of, okay, how much can we really save in 3.5 months? We did not live together before marriage, so we had 2 separate places. We're paying 2 separate rents, had separate bills, all that stuff. So we were like, realistically, how much can we save? And so together we were able to save, and we both had a little bit in our savings already, but about $5,000, including what we had a little bit over the 3-month period. And so we're like, all right, we're working with this $5,000 budget. Like, can we put a wedding on for that? I personally, y'all, I love Say Yes to the Dress, okay, all the TLC wedding shows. I grew up watching them. So I'm seeing these weddings for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. I'm seeing people spend $5,000 alone, right, for their wedding dress. So to me, I was like, what are we gonna do with this $5,000? But that's what we had, you know, to work with. So we were like, okay, we can do this. And so we kind of split up that $5,000 into different sections. Like, okay, that means we have about $1,000 for food. That means I have maybe $500 to $1,000 for my dress, right? So we had put together this preliminary budget. And then, y'all, that's when God, being amazing again, really showed up. And so he blessed us with another $5,000 from my parents, which brought it up to about $10,000. Well, not about $10,000 to work with. Additionally, my mom agreed, and I shouldn't say agreed because she offered it, to pay for my wedding dress, which was such a huge blessing. And so that allowed me to take that wedding dress budget out of the $10,000, so that the $10,000 can go towards other things, but the dress was going to be taken care of separately. So y'all, now I want to tell you some more details about specifically what we did to make this $10,000 budget work and to do it within 3.5 months. And so the first thing that we did was decide that we were going to have an intimate wedding. And by that, it was not going to be huge. And so neither of us have particularly huge families anyway, but still our guest list it started with about 60 people. And so for some people that may seem like not a lot at all, but it actually did encompass most of our family, most of our family, and also our close friends that we really wanted to be there, and also family friends, that kind of stuff. And so we really worked. Adam put together his list of people of like, absolutely, I need to invite these people. I put together my list of absolutely, I need to invite these people. And it worked. We were able to get to 60. And we knew that not everybody would be able to make it, especially because, you know, we were working with 3.5 months. And so some people, you know, may not be able to get off work, or there may be just kind of different things that might make it challenging for them to get there. So we had kind of accepted that, but we were like, you know, whoever is meant to be there will be there, and we're just gonna trust that. So the good news is most people that we did invite were actually able to make it. And so I think that total it ended up being around somewhere between 40 and 50 people, closer to 50, and that was perfect. And so what having that smaller list allowed us to do, it allowed us to not have to spend as much on food. It allowed us to not have to get this massively big venue, right? Because it was going to be intimate. And it also allowed us to release this pressure of like, oh, you know, we have to invite absolutely everybody we've ever known our whole lives, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. If you can do it and that's what you want, go for it. But for us, it was like we really wanted to be surrounded by our tribe, like our intimate tribe. And so yeah, that's the first thing that we did to work within the budget. The second thing that we did is we looked for and eventually found the perfect venue that would allow us to bring in our own vendors. So some vendors require you to use people who are on a certain list that they have as approved vendors. And so that can really, it can be a benefit because then you don't have to worry about looking for vendors. But if you're on a budget, it can be challenging because you don't know what those folks have to offer and what their prices are. So we found a venue and it was literally perfect. The venue of my dreams. It was a ballroom venue that also had an outdoor garden. So we were able to do the ceremony in the garden and the event in the the reception in the ballroom for $2,500. No lie, y'all, $2,500. And yeah, it allowed us to bring in our own vendors. We didn't have to worry about doing two spaces in terms of a space for the ceremony and reception. It was all in one place, which allowed us to save money. And by bringing in our own vendors, we could make sure that the vendors adhered to our budget. So that was super helpful in being able to stick with the budget. It also happened to be absolutely gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So it was perfect. Like the venue lacked nothing, and that price, $2,500, compared to a lot of things we were looking at locally, which were closer to $8,000, $10,000 even for packages, $3,000 to $5,000 for just renting the space. Like $2,500, that was super affordable for us, and it also included tables and chairs. Okay, so the next thing that we did, y'all, is we looked for vendors that either we knew or that maybe were new in the game looking for some business. So we didn't go with like the big major mainstream vendors. So we knew a guy kind of on acquaintance level who we knew kind of DJ'd on the side. So we asked him to be our wedding DJ. I found this gal via Facebook, actually a Facebook group, who did cake decorating as a side hustle, and her work was absolutely gorgeous. And so I was like, hey, you know, maybe she can do our wedding cake. And literally it was like $150. And wedding cakes generally are not that inexpensive. So that allowed us to support local businesses, also to support up and coming businesses, to support Black businesses and Black vendors. That felt really good to us, like from a values perspective, and also it was super kind to our budget. For food, we worked with a local vendor for barbecue, the Barbecue Daddy. Shout out to them because they did a great job. Prices relatively right to these other crazy big, you know, hotel like caterers, which were out of our budget. Y'all, the Barbecue Daddy delivered delicious food. I'm talking ribs, I'm talking mac and cheese. Okay, we were eating good up at this wedding at a price that we could afford, and it was a Black owned business. So I would say that was huge. Like, do your research on vendors and don't be afraid to give somebody a chance. Don't feel like you have to go with, you know, the top ones or the most expensive hotel in your city, because there are people out there who will and can do an excellent job within your budget. So we did that. The next thing that we did, y'all, that really helped is we made our own flowers and made our own centerpieces. And so we did rent table linens and were able to do that at a discount. But and also my cousin who was helping us out. She together we made the centerpieces, and it all came from pieces from either Big Lots or Dollar Tree. So I had done all this research on Pinterest and YouTube to find some really pretty inexpensive centerpieces that could be made. And so it was really simple, elegant, some rose petals, okay, with some candles floating in water. Super simple, super elegant, super gorgeous, and literally with materials from the Dollar Tree, but it did not look cheap. I also made myself and the wedding parties all of our bouquets and boutonnieres, literally y'all, based on videos from YouTube. There is so much content out there about how to make your own bouquets. We did use fake flowers, which still looked really gorgeous, but also was environmentally friendly. No flowers died in the process, and that was perfect, and that was actually really fun for me to do. So that helped us stay within the budget. And then we also, honestly y'all, when you are getting married, you know that everybody around you, your tribe, is super excited for you. So we also humbled ourselves and were able to ask for help. My husband asked a friend of his who has a really great personality to be the MC. I asked my uncle, who is a minister, to marry us, right? And so we were like, okay, these are our people. How can we ask them to help us bring this to life? And everybody was so down and excited and willing to do that. So yeah, those are my top tips. I'm sure there's a lot more that I could share, but all in all, y'all, like, it was my dream wedding. And I had gas, like nervous gas, right? I did shed some tears in the morning because I had to work through, you know, essentially because I was kind of struggling with my makeup a little bit and I didn't look exactly how I wanted to look. I made some tweaks, but ultimately let some of that go to just, you know, be in the moment and enjoy. And so I think it's so important during the engagement season and even before to remember that you are getting married, and the wedding, in terms of all the wedding angles, the food, the photographer, all that kind of stuff, that is beautiful expression and celebration of the marriage. But the marriage itself, you coming together with the person God has given you to spend the rest of your life with, that is the center. That should be the center, and everything else is just a celebration of that. And so I think a lot of people can get caught up in the opposite, right? They're focusing on all the details, they're focusing on spending all this money, they're focusing on the visuals, and they're not focusing on the commitment that's being made, right? They're not doing the premarital counseling, they're not doing the marriage work, but instead are focusing on the wedding. And there's nothing wrong with being excited about the wedding portion. You just got to make sure to stay rooted and focused on what's really going on, because after the wedding, y'all, right, like, the wedding part is over, and what you have is the rest of your life with a person, right? And so that wedding, it's a high, right? It's wonderful. It's gorgeous, as it should be, but you shouldn't invest more in the wedding than you are investing in your future with someone. And by investing, I'm not necessarily talking about money. I'm talking about, you know, doing the prayer work, right? Doing the personal and emotional healing work, you know, doing all of that to set your marriage up for success, to be lifelong and to be happy and so fruitful. So stay grounded, stay centered in what marriage is and in God through it. Trust Him to supply. He promises to supply our every need according to His riches and glory in Christ Jesus. And there is no exceptions to that, not even a wedding. And so I can honestly say, y'all, the wedding lacked nothing. We didn't have alcohol. We didn't need alcohol. Also, side note, alcohol can add like literally thousands to your budget. I know in some cultures it's very important to have, so definitely respect that. But for us, it was like, nope, not doing that. And so that allowed us to save money. And the wedding did not lack in dancing. It did not lack in people enjoying with each other. Like, it was such a high, literally like nobody even needed alcohol. So know that God will come through, and you don't have to follow all the kind of consumeristic trends that's very focused on the external. But when you decide to honor God, not only with your marriage, but with your wedding, y'all, it will be literally everything you need and more. Everything you need and more. So I hope this encouraged you. I hope this encouraged you, y'all. It can be done. You do not need to be rich. You do not have to have tens of thousands of dollars saved. You just need to have a heart that's down to do it, that's willing to do it, to put in the work, okay? That partnership with your person, and that trust in God, who always comes through. And so thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you next time, and let me know if you love videos like this, if you're interested in hearing more things around this topic, or just around relationships, dating, marriage in general. So yes, I love y'all. See you next time.